What's up, y'all? And today we go through Pythagorean theorem. This is one of the basics of trigonometry. In this video, I hope to cover what the Pythagorean theorem means and how you can use it to determine the sides of the lengths of a right angle triangle. So if you're new to this channel, please be sure to leave a like, leave a comment on this video, and also hit that subscribe button. But let's get into it. So Pythagorean theorem basically is a formula that we can use to determine the longest side of a right angle triangle. The longest side of a right angle triangle is called the hypotenuse. The side that is opposite to the angle is called opposite, and the side that is adjacent to the angle is called adjacent. Okay, so let me show this in a different diagram. Right, excuse me. So this is my right angle triangle. It's just a sketch, it's not an actual drawing. So this side is called the opposite because it's facing opposite to the angle, theta. This side is the hypotenuse. It's the longest side of a right angle triangle, so keep that in mind. And this side is what we refer to as the adjacent because it's near the angle. It's near this angle, the angle of, it's near the angle, basically, yeah. And so with this diagram, we can determine the common trigonometric angles, which are sine, cosine, and tangent. So I'm going to determine them using the formulas that we know in trigonometry. And then afterwards, we're going to go through what we refer to as the Pythagorean theorem, so that you can figure out how this is a 5. Okay, so the first angle I want to go through, the first trigonometric ratio is referred to as sine theta. So sine theta is just basically the opposite versus the hypotenuse, opposite over hypotenuse, right? So this is the angle opposite, and this is the hypotenuse. And so whatever length the opposite is, you're gonna take that length and divide it by whatever length the hypotenuse is. There's another formula. There's cosine theta. So that is basically adjacent over hypotenuse, right? Excuse me. So whatever length the side nearest to the angle is, you're going to take that length and divide it by the length of the hypotenuse, right? And then last but not least, we also have tangent theta. Tangent theta refers to opposite over adjacent. And so in a similar fashion, whatever length the opposite is, you take that length and divide it by the length of the adjacent in the given triangle problem that you have. But let's go back to this diagram. So if you wanted to find sine of theta, it would simply just be what? It would be 3 over 5, because the length of the opposite is 3 and the length of the hypotenuse is 5. So it would be 3 out of 5 for this problem. Cosine, however, would be 4 over 5 because the side nearest to the angle is referred to as the adjacent, and based on the cosine formula, it should be adjacent over hypotenuse, so it should be 4 over 5 for cosine theta in this problem. And then we head down to tangent, which is simply opposite over adjacent. And so this is my opposite. The length of the opposite is 3. We divide that by the length of the adjacent, which is 4. So my tangent for this problem would be 3 over 4, right? So I have my sine, I have my cosine, and I also have my tangents. So let's head back to Pythagorean theorem. Pythagorean theorem is basically, if I call this side A, well, actually, let me draw another diagram. If I call this side A, and I call this side B, and I call this side C, well, Pythagorean theorem would just be A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. So you're taking the square of each of the two lengths, each of the opposite length and the of the adjacent length. You're taking the square of the opposite length, you're taking the square of the adjacent length, you're adding them together to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. And to determine the hypotenuse length, you would just take the square root of the summation. The square root of A squared plus B squared would give you the length. It gives you the length, the length or the magnitude of the hypotenuse, right? So keep that in mind. So that's exactly how we found the 5, because let's say I'm calling my length C. 3 squared plus 4 squared is equal to 9 plus 16, which is 25. The square root of 25 would just simply be 5, right? And so that's why we have 5 over here. Does that make sense? I sure hope that makes sense. I hope this video was helpful. Be sure to leave a comment where you want me to go redo any of these diagrams, in case that would increase your understanding. And as always, be sure to leave a like, be sure to leave a comment, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.